Now to a blockbuster tech deal. Facebook is expanding its empire.
What a deal this is. Facebook is buying WhatsApp for $19 billion, its largest acquisition ever.
Breaking news, Facebook pays a jaw-dropping $19 billion for an app. An app.
Back now with that story that shook up the tech world and had many of us asking, is a tiny text messaging company with no profits and only a few dozen employees really worth a whopping $19 billion? Facebook thinks so. Here's ABC's Rebecca Jarvis.
Why is Facebook paying Jan Koum and Brian Acton $19 billion to join the social network? Because they created WhatsApp, a 5-year-old business with just 55 soon-to-be very wealthy employees. WhatsApp lets users send unlimited text messages anywhere in the world. The app saved consumers nearly $33 billion in texting fees last year alone.
What does Facebook get from this deal?
It's somewhat mysterious. I mean, superficially, they get about 450 million users of WhatsApp. They say WhatsApp is going to grow to more than 1 billion users, which is huge.
At $19 billion, it's the biggest startup buyout of all time, the biggest internet deal since AOL bought Time Warner, $18 billion more than what Facebook paid for Instagram in 2012. It also makes tiny WhatsApp more valuable than some of the most established companies in the country, including American Airlines, Marriott Hotels, and Xerox.
WhatsApp doesn't do advertising. They don't collect a lot of user data. How does Facebook make money with this company?
Mark Zuckerberg basically said, we don't know yet.
The deal does give the world's largest social network another dominant mobile communication tool, one that's particularly popular with young and international audiences.
Instead of buying these upstart social systems, they need to figure out ways to create them by themselves so that they don't have to keep spending $20 billion on each new one.
For This Week, Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.
Thanks, Rebecca. Back now with the group, including Cory Johnson, anchor of Bloomberg West, who joins us from San Francisco. And Cory, I want to start with you. Facebook, as we've now heard, has spent $19 billion on this. I think $20 billion in the last 2 years to acquire these barely profitable companies. Explain further why they're doing this.
Well, look, on some level, this is still a mystery. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's addressing the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, and it's such a big deal. There's so many questions about this valuation. We're actually going to carry it live tomorrow because there was really people wonder why spend this much money on such a nascent application. It seemingly came out of nowhere. But I think that Facebook recognizes how rapid change is happening in this world of mobile computing. And WhatsApp has had great success where Facebook has only begun to have minor successes.
Tom Friedman, you wrote a column this month about Startup America and how Silicon Valley is where, you say, ideas come to launch, and Washington, D.C. is where ideas go to die. So what does Washington learn from Silicon Valley?
Well, you know, one of the biggest things you can learn, I think, Martha, is that in Silicon Valley, when you call someone a collaborator, that means it's someone you're building something great with. When you call someone a collaborator in Washington, it's used in the Vichy French term of someone you're from the other party you're working with. So certainly there's a message there. Look, I think what we're seeing here, to take it back to our Ukraine story for a second, is the world's going from connected to hyper-connected now. And what that does is that it concentrates wealth at the top, it distributes power at the bottom, and it injects transparency everywhere. And WhatsApp, which I actually came across for the first time 2 months ago, I was telling Bill, in Saudi Arabia, when someone said, I'm going to WhatsApp you, and I didn't even know, I said, what's WhatsApp? You know, but this is very big outside the United States, and I have to assume...
And there is that Ukraine connection because one of the founders was from Ukraine, and he didn't like that police state atmosphere, and he didn't like being followed around, and you don't do that on this app, correct?
Founder of Skype. Was
right, and you know what? It turns out to found a company like WhatsApp or to found Facebook, it helps to have the rule of law. It helps to have a pretty free and open market. It helps to have free capital markets, which allowed Mark Zuckerberg to decide to pay his own shareholders' money, not government money, for this company. So I do think it makes a very common sense point. If you asked about the contrast with Washington, the common sense point is you want to have fairly free markets out there. That's where the innovation comes from.
Okay, there's only about 55 employees. That's yes. One small corner of a factory floor. Let me take this to Bill Kristol, and we'll come back to you, Cory. Should we be worried that our biggest growth sector is made up of these elite few. What does this say for growing jobs?
It says that other more traditional sectors, energy and manufacturing, should be deregulated and let go free a little more. Where is the growth coming from? It's from the least regulated, least unionized, least focused on Washington, least crony capitalist part of the economy.
And Cory, you wanted to jump in there.
Well, I think the success of this app has a lot to do with cost, right? They've been able to use technology to find ways around the cellular networks. In other countries, it can cost as much as 25 cents to send every single text message. So you saw WhatsApp really explode. It is the #1 app used for text messaging, if you will, in Mexico, in Brazil, in Indonesia, in some of the biggest countries in the world, not in the U.S., but it is growing fantastically. But the reason it's growing is they don't charge anything. So from a business standpoint, you can look at the success of it on a social aspect or on a technological aspect and be just floored by it. But when you look at it from a revenue standpoint, because they don't charge, they're successful. But because they don't charge, it might not be a great business. So when Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are spending so much in stock and a great deal of cash to acquire this company, in some ways it's very much a defensive effort against something that's free when they want to find some way to make money on these things, and the inventors of this device or this application have not been able to yet.
And why do we think that next year there might just be another hot thing on the market, and they've just spent $19 billion, Tom?
This has
one of the things I
grown
would say is
faster
that
than Facebook. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, and I was going to say that that's scary, but what is equally scary is the fact that only 55 people work there. And I think that is part of a larger trend. In fact, if you took probably Twitter, Facebook, even Google and WhatsApp, Instagram together, you could probably fit them all in the new Giant Stadium. And yet these have huge multiples. And I do think that is a trend, that machines and software will increasingly be substituting for a lot of labor. And how we respond to that, I think, is going to be an increasing challenge going forward.
And quickly, Bill, a good move in the end?
I don't have a clue. But you know what? It's not government money. It's not taxpayer money. He's taking the risk, and his shareholders will pay the price if it isn't a good move. But that's capitalism.
Thanks very much, Tom and Cory.